Good afternoon and welcome to State NewsFile. I'm Ronaldo Suarez. Eloise Taylor-Ann will have sports coming up. But first, let's check in with Chimizi Uguru with the weather.
So, Ronaldo, it's been a wonderful weather all of this week and particularly today. Why is it a wonderful weather? Well, if you recall, last week we had very freezing conditions that resulted in serious frostbite for people, and we had broken water pipes across the city, which left families without water for weeks on ending. And if you consider also that this time last year it was -1, and then in 1886 when we had a record low it was a -38. So if you put all that together, then you'll agree with me that this is a wonderful weather. But as wonderful as this weather is, it's nowhere close to 1981 when we had a record high of 14 degrees. But we'll be giving you more details of the weather as we go along in the program. Back to you, Ronaldo.
Thanks, Jim. Have you gotten it up to any skiing this weekend?
Skiing, no. I mean, the weather's beautiful. I would like to, but I'm not much of a skier. There is a young skier from Calgary, though, who's competing for Canada. He's overseas, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in sports later on.
Here's a look at today's top stories. The environmental group Extinction Rebellion opposed the $20 billion Teck frontier mining project this morning during a protest. The protest took place outside of the Teck's resource building in downtown. Extinction says that the mine will produce 4 million tons of greenhouse emissions every year for the next 40 years, adding 20% additional oil sands pollution each decade. Those against the project say it could bring $70 billion in government revenue over the next 40 years. On the other side, extinction groups fought the climate change action and hopes for helping the environment.
What people would take away is that we need to start a dialogue and stop with the rhetoric, stop with the fear-mongering and the hate-mongering, and work together to figure out what is going to be best for Alberta and for the world.
This wasn't the only protest in the city today, as another group of Albertans took a stand for a different reason. For homeowners, paying property tax is a necessary evil. You can't get out of it. At best, you're paying your fair share towards the city services. But many rural municipalities and landowners claim that they're not receiving any property tax from oil and gas companies. As Amy Michaelis reports, some Albertans say they have had enough of the double standard.
Many citizens are calling out the United Conservative government on the fact that everyday citizens are still required to pay their property taxes and are questioning why many oil companies are allowed to be off the hook. Former MLA and Liberal leader David Swan and Alberta Liabilities Disclosure Project lead researcher Reagan Boychuk met today at the McDougall Centre in Calgary to defend rural municipalities who aren't receiving property taxes from oil and gas companies.
And who knew that paying taxes in Alberta was an option? Some oil and gas companies are treating taxes, whether rural or urban, as optional, with the government subsidizing them and then calling on municipalities to lower their taxes.
In an attempt to inspire citizens to join in on a revolt, he publicly announced he will withhold his property taxes until there is government action.
I'm calling on all affected Albertans, cities and rural communities, to join this tax revolt, property tax revolt.
Boychuk just wants big oil held accountable.
The idea of taxpayers propping up failed oil and gas executives is simply unacceptable. They have this double standard, where the oil patch gets tax cuts, while the rest of us pay for it, must end. Let's call a spade a spade. It's unethical for these companies, what they're doing. Dining on the profits of our public wealth, and then dashing on their taxes and dues to the community.
While many people are doing their part and voicing their opinions on their concerns for the province, the main question after this protest today is what is the province itself willing to do to get these bankrupt oil companies to pay their overdue municipal taxes? For State NewsFile, I'm Amy Michaelis.
The coronavirus now has a death toll of 17 and has spread from China to North America. Airports around the world, including Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, are checking passengers arriving from China for signs of the virus. As the number of cases rise, so do concerns of an outbreak similar to the 2003 SARS outbreak that killed 800 people. The coronavirus resembles the flu with symptoms like coughing, aches, and body chills. The World Health Organization is holding an emergency meeting Wednesday to try to determine what precautions need to be taken as the number of infected is expected to rise. Safe consumption sites are in jeopardy of being moved or possibly closed altogether. Premier Jason Kenney spoke on the matter, commenting there has been a marked increase of crimes near consumption sites. A report about the sites is expected to come soon and may change the way sites operate. The Alberta government is searching to find if there's a better way to do harm reduction, but those that work at the sites are concerned that moving or getting rid of the sites could cost lives. There are currently 7 consumption sites in the province between Calgary, Edmonton, and Lethbridge. Substance abuse has become a huge problem, and the numbers keep rising significantly per year. The Calgary Dream Centre allows people to recognize they need to make a change, and they offer help. However, not everyone can get in due to the large number of people on the wait list. Nathan Anderson joins us from the SAIT studio. Nathan, the wait list for the Dream Centre is super long. Why is that?
Well, Ronaldo, I mean, it is good that people are getting help for their addictions, but now they will have to wait a longer period of time. The wait times at the Dream Centre are the highest that they've ever been in their 17-year history.
The Calgary Dream Centre is one of Calgary's most used addictions recovery facilities. The facility offers people with addiction issues access to a cafeteria with people who make free, fresh food daily. Close to 22% of people in Canada qualify for a substance abuse order, which means close to 8 million Canadians suffer from some sort of addictions. Out of that 22%, 18% suffer from alcohol abuse, and more than 77,000 people were hospitalized because of it. The Dream Centre usually accepts people as soon as they arrive, but now people can see upwards of 3 weeks before they get in. The wait list has people waiting for all types of programming, no matter what the substance may be.
We still see is alcohol. That's kind of the biggest substance that is used. Then methamphetamines is on the rise. It's fairly cheap and readily available. Then we're seeing the prescription medication, the opioids, and then cocaine would be number 4.
The non-profit organization, their donations were down significantly last year, and as of right now, they are still waiting for word from the province on their funding. To raise money, the Dream Centre started its own cafe open to the public, putting most of their proceeds to their programming as well as their housing units. Homeless people and people who suffer from addictions can benefit from any type of rehab programming throughout the city, however, they will just have to wait longer.
And supports and services that individuals waiting on the wait list are able to access in the meantime.
The risk is that some people may overdose while they are waiting to get treatment in those weeks. If you know anyone who is struggling with addiction, even with the long wait times, make sure that they are aware that they can get help and sign up. Ronaldo?
Nathan Anderson reporting live from the SAIT newsroom. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and for the kids who might be living in poverty, it can be a difference maker. As Logan Stein reports, Cornerstone's Breakfast Initiative program has a huge impact on the youth that it serves.
Eggs, waffles, sausages, all delicious starters to the day. At the Cornerstone Youth Centers, it can mean the difference between a nourishing meal for breakfast or going to school hungry.
I think it's very important because a lot of kids come during breakfast time and they have a good breakfast before they go to school. So they are all excited and they love it and they get something to eat before they go to school. Yeah.
Cornerstone has been feeding close to 100 Calgary kids every day for the past 3 years, but the group is having to cut back severely because of the lack of funding. With the Albert Park location closing down, it's left over 70 kids with nowhere to go for breakfast or after school. John Carlo Cara, counselor for this ward, has spoke about the lack of funding and how important it is that this location is open for the kids in this community. Statistics from 2019 show that the poverty level in Calgary and the surrounding area actually dropped from 9.8% in 2017 down to 6.9% last year. That's the lowest rate in Canada. But that doesn't mean programs like this aren't essential. Madhu Chawla says the youth centers like these offer kids a platform to talk about their problems.
They feel very good about communicating, and when they feel good about themselves, I think it's very good for their personality to grow.
Chawla is concerned that these growth opportunities may diminish because of the closure of Albert Park. Kids in the area would have to travel more than an hour on public transit just to go to the mainland location, something that isn't likely. For State NewsFile, I'm Logan Stein.
Alberta fishermen are frustrated. They say for far too long, decisions about the management of the fisheries have been taking place without public input. The Bow Habitat Station is trying to change that by hosting an engagement session. Hannah Lapine has more.
It's a great thing.
The warmer weather is fast approaching, and that has many avid outdoorsmen ready to dig out the fishing pole. The Bow Habitat Station is looking to find options and work towards a long-term plan for Alberta's fisheries. The station is partnering with the Alberta government, anglers, Indigenous groups, and conservation groups in order to figure out what needs to be done to improve sustainability in Alberta's waters. Rob Simmerich, the Regional Resource Manager with Alberta Environment and Parks, sees the engagement process as a positive starting point in order to build and expand existing programs.
Some ideas we're looking at is increasing, stocking opportunities, looking at ways to maybe increase harvest in some areas. So all those things are on the table, and we just want to hear from Albertans on how to do that best.
One of the biggest issues that was expressed was the need to increase current stocking programs into more water bodies with new fish species or strains.
Stocking program is where we grow fish, and so that we do this at this facility here. We get the eggs, we fertilize the eggs and make babies, and then grow the fish, and then we put the fish out into the wild.
Simmerich says the ability to spend time in the outdoors and pursue activities like fishing is important for many Albertans, especially for fisherman Brian Eberts, who is looking forward to many more years of fishing in his home province.
Honestly, I think in the last 20 years, the reservoir fishing has been probably the best it's ever has been. So it's been really good.
Stats Canada says close to 180,000 Albertans identify as recreational anglers. And believe it or not, more than 20% of them, women. Fishing is a part of Alberta's cultural fabric, and the Bow River Habitat Station is doing its best to make our fisheries stronger, more vibrant, and sustainable for years to come. For State NewsFile, I'm Hannah Lapine.
Those are today's top stories. We'll have your full forecast after the break, but first, Chimbizi Uguru has a look at what's going around Calgary this week.
Join the Chinese community this weekend to celebrate the Lunar New Year at the YYC Cultural Center. Lots of free food and much more. Want to see some basketball stunts? Keep a date with the Harlem Globetrotters as they tour YYC. Tickets on StubHub. Seeking to meet your partner? Attend speed dating at Bottles Crew Bill Pub for $27. It will be romantic with opportunities for future concerts. Enjoy volunteering? The 61st Inglewood Community Carnival is here. It is a wonderful opportunity to serve in the community. If you love wrestling, get ready for WW Royal Rumble 2020. Live at the Palomino Smokehouse. Plenty to drink with barbecue. Get tickets on allevents.in. Eat out this weekend. Have your plate piled with crawfish and crab the Louisiana way. Tickets cost $40 and available on allevents.in.
Food, a basic necessity for everyone, but not everyone can get it for themselves or can afford it for that matter. But this is where Meals on Wheels comes into help. Meals on Wheels is a non-for-profit in Calgary. Their main objective is to promote health and independence in the community. Meals on Wheels does this by providing and delivering quality, nutritious, and affordable meals for everyone in our community. Meals on Wheels values their clients and understands their situation and needs. So short-term or long-term, Meals on Wheels is here to help.
It has been a season of extreme cold conditions, but things are beginning to warm up and look pretty much very good. Let's dive into it and see what the rest of the country is looking like. So from here in Western Canada, we can see that pressure system is beginning to build up and it's leaving a lot of warm weather, and the warm weather is making an upward slope over the cold air and creating warm conditions, and as a result we're having to see very single-digit conditions all across the western part of the country, beautiful as it looked like. And let's see what it looks like in the eastern part of the country. So here in central Canada, Montreal and Toronto, we can see that the conditions are looking beautiful. This is probably the place everyone will want to be right now. It's looking very lovely. And as we make our way upwards north of the east, we can see that polar jet is, coming in contact with the pressure system, and it's creating a lot of wind and cloudy conditions. Nothing to worry about. This is typical maritime conditions, and it's looking lovely. But if, like me, you don't like the cold, you may want to consider what the resorts have to offer.
In Hollywood's waiting room for heaven, it is sunny and 24 degrees. The Beamshire Island sits on 26 with possibilities of night showers. It's all sun and cloud in Cancun. Honolulu is scorching at 27 degrees, better than the cold we have here. In Orlando and Las Vegas, it is 17 degrees, so warm I wish I could switch locations.
Presently in Calgary, it's getting warmer at 4 degrees. Conditions will continue to improve heading into the weekend with a lot of sun and occasional cloudiness. Wind conditions will hover around 16 kilometers per hour with a low -1 and a wind chill of -12. Across the province, we can see pretty much the same thing we saw at the national level. That pressure system is looking lovely, and it's creating, wonderful sunshine and bits of cloudiness, excluding in Banff where we have light flurries, but everything is looking okay. And as we head further down, we can see warmer temperatures in southern part of the province. Now let's see what the next 5 days have to offer here in Calgary. So here for the next 5 days, we can see that presently it's looking warm, everything looking very clear. Temperatures will continue to improve even as we move further into the weekend. Nothing to worry about, sunshine all across, and yes, we hope this continues for a foreseeable future. And now let's see what the ski report is saying.
In the last 24 hours, Fernie has had fresh powder up to 5 cm at a base of 149 cm. Temperature is fair with 9 out of 10 lifts open. If you're okay with the long drive to the Witch's Hat, you're in for good weather at 2 degrees. All lifts are open at a base of 85 cm. Sunshine hasn't had fresh snow in the last 24 hours, but the conditions are looking good for runs with well-groomed pole. All 12 lifts are open. Closer to Calgary, Mount Knocky celebrates its 92nd anniversary. Skiers who wish to do hourly runs can do so for a toonie. Base is 65 cm with mixed conditions. At Lake Louise, the powder is well groomed. Upper runs excellent with 1 cm fresh snow. The base is 127 cm, temperature -3 and cloudy.
You've all heard of the devastating bushfires in Australia. Thankfully, people are donating, even a sports team. Hey, Eloise?
Yeah, so the Australian Open is going on right now, and I'll tell you a little bit about how they're fundraising and donating after we have some local sports. The St. Trojan women's volleyball team got off to a slow start this season, losing 11 games straight before finally breaking out of their bad luck this past weekend. With the season winding down, they look to finish off with some kills. Zach Stewart has the story.
The Trojans women's volleyball team has a 4-14 record so far this season, which puts them 6th in the South Conference in the ACAC standings. But after a weekend sweep of the Medicine Hat College Rattlers, the Trojans are staying positive they can continue their winning ways.
So it was good to go against Medicine Hat and show that we can play at that level. And so we just have to build on that our confidence that we're a strong enough team to play with any team in the league.
This Trojans volleyball team is fairly young and inexperienced, having 7 rookies on the team and starting 4 to 5 of them per game. With so many first-year players, They really look towards the guidance of their veterans, both on and off the court.
As rookies, they show us how to be a team and how things work around SAIT, and just in practice I think they bring a lot of leadership, and they're all very good, and I think they bring us and make us better.
With key matches coming up against colleges like Olds, Red Deer and Lethbridge, playoffs aren't quite out of the picture yet for this Trojans team.
We've won the matches we need to, and we need to win at least 4 of the next 6 to feel as if we're making progress.
With only 6 games remaining, the SAIT Trojans women volleyball team are looking to finish off the season strong and carry the momentum into next season. For SAIT NewsFile, I'm Zach Stewart.
Not all Trojans have been in a slump. The successful men's basketball team is looking to keep up their winning streak. The men had an impressive showing over the weekend, beating St. Mary on Friday and Saturday. The Lethbridge College Kodiaks lead the ACAC South standings, but SAIT is just 1 spot below. Their last loss was on December 29th, but they are undefeated so far this semester. The Trojans play Friday night at 8 against Olds College Broncos, following the women's game at 6. Also in basketball action, it was a good night last night for Kawhi Leonard, who led the LA Clippers to a close win in Texas, but Dwight Powell wasn't as lucky. An unfortunate injury here, we'll see it right away. Powell goes down with a possible tear in his right Achilles. You can tell he's in a lot of pain. The Toronto native wanted to try out for the Olympic qualifiers, but this could be a season-ending injury. We head into the second quarter here. Kawhi Leonard gets it, runs it up, and slams it. After this, we'll be heading into the third. Berea, he runs up to the net, fakes the layup, passes it over, and Porzingis smashes it to the net. Nice one from Porzingis there. Now we're up to the fourth quarter. The Clippers are leading by 5. Kawhi with the 3. The former Raptor is shooting very well this game. Now onto the fourth quarter, only 24 seconds left. About to start the play, ball is in the possession of the Clippers, but it's intercepted. The Mavericks run it up, and they'll be passing it along the paint here. They have a chance to tie up the game. Hardaway Jr. shoots it, and no good, so that seals the deal for the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard scored 36 points, making last night's game in the 6th in a row, where he bucketed over 30 points. Luka Doncic also had 36 points for the Mavericks. This game brings the Clippers' win total up to 31, putting them just behind the Lakers in the 2nd spot in the West. They face the Hawks tonight in Atlanta. Curling is sliding into action at the Okotoks Recreation Center, where the 2020 Scotties Tournament of Hearts is kicking off today. The top 8 teams in the province will face each other in this 5-day tournament. Charlie Caldwell joins us live from the Murray Arena in Okotoks. Charlie, how are the teams preparing for the big tournament?
That's right, Eloise. The winning team will represent Alberta at the National Scotties Tournament, which will be held in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. The competition will be fierce, as there are new rookie teams looking to establish a name for themselves and veteran teams looking to make a comeback. Alberta is known to be a powerhouse in curling, as Alberta has won gold at the National Tournament of Hearts 3 times since 2010. Teams competing in the Scotties tournament for the very first time say it's very intimidating to face the province's top talent.
Alberta has one of the strongest fields for women's curling I've ever seen. A lot of it, like Laura Walker, Kelsey Raw, Casey Scheidegger, even like Jody Vaughn and the rest of the teams here, they all definitely deserve to be here. They've been here before, and it's a huge competition, and it's the best level you're going to see in Alberta.
Teams have been practicing 5 times a week or even more, with the goal of securing a spot in the national tournament. But it's not only the athletes who were preparing for this competition. The staff were working around the clock to transform a hockey arena into a curling arena. Ice manager Mike Libas says, despite all of the work, it's worth it because the tournament brings positives to the city of Okotoks.
Well, it brings a lot of new spectators. I mean, everybody that's involved in curling in Alberta probably knows it about Okotoks now. We're just here to showcase our community. That's our goal for our curling club, is to showcase Okotoks itself.
With last year's winner, Chelsea Carey, not in this year's tournament, the winning spot is open to anyone. Eloise?
Charlie, Carly Caldwell reporting from the Okotoks Recreation Centre. The Scotties Tournament of Hearts round robin continues tonight with matches starting at 6:30. Playoffs begin this weekend. 4 round robin games are on the schedule tonight, including an exciting Lethbridge game as both Lethbridge-based teams, Scheidegger and Vaughan, will battle it out. Tickets can be found at okotokscurling.ca. A young Calgarian is coming home with a gold medal around his neck following a successful trip to Switzerland. 17-year-old Andrew Longino captured Canada's first and only gold medal in the Youth Olympics Tuesday. Longino soared over the Swiss Alps in the men's free ski halfpipe event, scoring 94 in his final run, 8 points higher than the next competitor. He credits some of his success to Elton John, as the singer provided the soundtrack during his win. Another Canadian is also impressing overseas at the Australian Open. Milos Raonic is the last Canadian left in the major tennis event held at Melbourne Park. In his match against Christian Guerin Tuesday, he came out with a lot of aces, which is good news for wildfire relief. Tennis Canada and Tennis Australia are donating money to bushfire relief for every ace hit in the tournament by a Canadian player. Raonic advances to third round action tomorrow. And that's a look at sports.
Tennis, that's a sport I can get behind.
Yeah, have you ever played?
Quite a bit with my brothers back in the summer, but
Nice.
How about yourself?
Not really, no.
Those are today's top stories, and if you love the Military Museum, we have a story about that coming after the break.
SAIT recently sent an engine from a Banshee F2H3.
Country Hospice Society, creating an atmosphere of care and dignity for those we serve.
Bros, cabs are here in 45.
Oh, screw that, man. I'll drive.
You sure, man? You look pretty drunk. Man, just let him drive. All right, he can drive. Let's go then.
I don't know if I should drive tonight, guys.
SAIT's aeronautical program has been receiving, studying, and donating military planes for over 60 years. David Dimitri follows the story of Canada's military history and what led him to the Calgary Military Museum.
SAIT recently sent an engine from a Banshee F2H3. Brad Faget, the curator at the museum, goes into more detail.
Well, the engine we received was one that was probably used at SAIT at the time this aircraft was used as a teaching aid at SAIT. Now, it's the same engine that was used in these aircraft. SAIT approached us about 6 months ago and said, we've got this engine that's left over from our previous stuff. Do you want it? And we thought that would be a good addition to our exhibit because it gives people an idea of what the engine looked like, and when it's eventually interpreted properly, you'll be able to identify most of the parts and how it worked.
Eric Caroller, the museum's director, not only works to tell the story of Canadian soldiers, he has his own personal connection to the museum and one particular artifact.
I was in the Navy for a number of years, and one of my roles in the Navy as an action station when the ship went to fighting stations was to be in that gun and to load that gun as it fired. So that was a pretty exciting thing, being in a gun with the noise of that round popping off. So there's a lot of people, Alberta and Saskatchewan, that participated in the war. So what we've done with this museum is we tried to recognize a lot of the points from Alberta, a lot of the cities, a lot of the people, and some of the features that we have here in our exhibits, they'll feature prairie people.
From receiving a bit of history every day to retelling the stories of people who fought for our country, the Military Museum will always educate and hold a great honor for Calgary. For SAIT NewsFile, I'm David Dimitri.
On behalf of SAIT NewsFile, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.